Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. And if you have a phone, a television, or, even a pulse, you likely already know why we're here.
Oh, absolutely. It's a day that will be circled in the history books, but for all the wrong reasons.
It's Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's 66th birthday, but instead of cake and candles, he was greeted this morning by detectives from Thames Valley Police.
Yeah, no royal toast. Instead, he got a knock on the door at Wood Farm.
The scene itself is it's surreal. You have these unmarked police cars crunching up the gravel drive on the Sandringham estate, plainclothes officers, an arrest. It feels like something from a TV drama.
It's a seismic moment. I mean, we really can't overstate the historical significance here. This is the first time a senior British royal has been arrested since King Charles I.
Back in 1649, and we all know how that ended for him.
We do. Now, obviously, things have changed a bit since then, but the symbolic fall, it's just as profound. A total collapse of status.
It is. And while every headline is just screaming, arrest, our mission here on this deep dive is to get past that initial shock. We need to unpack the why. Why now, on his birthday, and why this specific charge, misconduct in public office.
Exactly, because that charge is the key to everything.
You're right.
It connects directly to that massive data dump from the U.S. Department of Justice that we've all been trying to get through.
Right, because most people will see Andrew and arrest and just immediately think it's for the sexual abuse allegations that we've known about for years.
But it's not. Not directly. The legal reality is, well, it's a lot more specific. It's almost bureaucratic in a way.
And that's the insight, isn't it? The sexual allegations provide the horrific context, but this legal hook, the misconduct charge, that's what finally gave the authorities a way in. It's a strategic move.
It is a very calculated one.
So let's start right there. The police statement was, it was incredibly brief, almost clinically cold. Just a man in his 60s from Norfolk has been arrested.
Yeah, standard police procedure. They won't name him until he's officially charged. But the key is what he was arrested on suspicion of.
Misconduct in public office.
Right. And if you're not a lawyer, that phrase sounds a bit wet. Like a civil servant who filed their expenses late.
Exactly. It sounds like something you get fired for, not something you go to prison for. But that's not the case at all, is it?
Not even close. It's a very serious common law offense. And theoretically, it carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment.
Wow.
Yeah. It requires proving that a public officer, that they willfully abuse the public's trust. It's about betrayal.
And this is where the timeline becomes so important. The police aren't looking at his time as a helicopter pilot. They're zeroing in on a very specific period.
His time as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment, that decade from 2001 to 2011.
And there it is. That's the aha moment. For years, everyone said it would be so hard to prosecute him in the UK for alleged sexual offenses that happened, in the US or somewhere else decades ago.
The burden of proof is huge. Jurisdiction is a nightmare.
So this is the Al Capone strategy.
It's exactly the Al Capone strategy.
Yeah.
They couldn't get Capone on racketeering and murder, so they nailed him on tax evasion. Here, the sexual allegations destroyed his reputation, but it's the paper trail from his taxpayer-funded job that's put him in handcuffs.
Which brings us to the smoking gun. Those Epstein files. 3 million documents from the U.S. Department of Justice.
An absolute avalanche of evidence. And somewhere in that avalanche, investigators found the emails that seemed to have forced the police's hand.
We're not just talking about him partying with Epstein. We're talking about him potentially feeding Epstein confidential state information.
Let's get into the specifics, because this is where the charge really gets its teeth. He's forwarding confidential visit reports, official government trips.
To Hong Kong, Vietnam, Singapore. He goes on the taxpayer's dime, meets with officials, writes a report for the UK government, and then he just hits forward and sends it to a convicted sex offender.
That's what the emails suggest. And it gets worse. There's one document that really stands out, the Helmand Province Brief.
A confidential document about investment opportunities in a war zone.
Sent to Jeffrey Epstein on Christmas Eve 2010.
Pause on that for a second. Why would Epstein even want that information? What's the value to him?
That is the question, isn't it? Epstein was a man who traded in information and leverage. Knowing where UK investment was going could be invaluable for commodities trading, for defense contracts, for anything.
The implication being that Andrew was using his official role to feed commercial intelligence to his friend.
Exactly, and whether he was doing it for Epstein's gain or just to show off his own access. It doesn't matter. The act itself is a textbook example of misconduct in public office.
It just frames their whole relationship differently. It wasn't just social, it was transactional.
Completely. And the tone of some of those emails is, well, it's bizarre. He writes to Epstein, "Wish I was still a pet in your family."
I don't know what to do with that. A prince of the realm writing that.
It's deeply unsettling. It really speaks to the psychological hold Epstein had on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there are the photos that came with the DOJ release.
Right. They're disturbing. There's one described as showing him crouching on all fours over an unidentified woman.
And another touching a woman's stomach. It's a picture of total debauchery. And speaking of things that are hard to unsee, we have to mention the threesome letter.
This is a legal letter from 2011 that alleges Andrew and Epstein propositioned an exotic dancer for a threesome back in 2006.
And then tried to get her to fly to the Virgin Islands with them.
This just dismantles that old defense that, he didn't know what Epstein was up to or that he cut contact. This suggests he was right there in the middle of it.
Which brings us back to the victims. We can't forget the human cost in all this. We all know the story of Virginia Giuffre.
The civil settlement in 2022 for about $16 million. And then, so tragically, she died by suicide last year.
A devastating end. But her death didn't stop everything. A new accuser has now come forward, represented by the lawyer Brad Edwards.
And she alleges a sexual encounter at Royal Lodge in 2010.
But it's the detail of what happened after the encounter that is so damning. It's so specific and so royal.
She claims she was given tea and a private tour of Buckingham Palace.
Exactly.
That detail just stops you in your tracks. A tour of the palace, it's like a party favor.
It is, and that's the key. It suggests a pattern. It suggests royal privileges were being used as currency in this sordid network. He was literally using the trappings of the monarchy.
And then you have financial records on top of all that, a congressional letter that cites logs with notes like massage for Andrew.
And we all know what massage was a euphemism for in the Epstein world. It's just,
yeah.
It's overwhelming. The emails, the photos, the logs, the testimony. It shows he was fully integrated into the operation.
It's a perfect storm, and it explains why King Charles has been so ruthless in cutting his brother off. It's like he knew this day was coming.
He must have. He clearly saw Andrew as a liability that could sink the whole ship. He's been systematically erasing him from public life.
Let's just walk through that, because the process has been brutal. It started under the Queen in 2022 when he lost his HRH style and military titles.
But Charles put his foot on the accelerator. In October 2025, a formal process to remove him from the role of the peerage. So he's not even officially the Duke of York anymore.
And then the nuclear option in November.
The letter's patent, formally removing the title of Prince. Legally, the man in that police station today is just Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
That's just jarring to hear. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, no titles, just a name.
A man from Norfolk. And crucially, no more Royal Lodge. The king evicted him, moved him to the smaller wood farm, and most importantly for today's events, his police protection was removed.
Which must have made the arrest itself logistically much simpler, no need to negotiate with royal protection officers.
Precisely. It's a total dismantling. They even took his banner down from the Garter Chapel. It's like they were trying to delete him from the institution before the handcuffs even went on.
It's a damage limitation strategy of the highest order. So the palace can now say, this isn't a prince being arrested, it's a private citizen.
The monarchy must survive. Yeah. Charles is amputating the limb to save the body.
But the damage isn't just limited to Andrew. There's political fallout, because he isn't the only big British name in those files. Peter Mandelson.
Yes, Lord Mandelson. A giant of British politics for decades. The sources are clear. There's a parallel investigation into him. Police have searched his home.
And for similar allegations, right? Sharing government info with Epstein.
Exactly. Misconduct in public office. It paints a much wider picture of an establishment problem, not just a royal problem.
So you have a senior royal and a senior politician, both allegedly feeding information to this American sex trafficker. It brings up that question again. What was Epstein doing with it all?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. It seems he was building an intelligence network for commercial and political leverage. And now the current government has to clean up the mess.
We had Prime Minister Keir Starmer come out and say, nobody is above the law.
He has to say that. But it's about to be tested because the U.S. Congress has formally summoned Andrew for a transcribed interview.
Which is a huge diplomatic headache. Would the UK extradite a former royal? He's a private citizen, yes, but he's still the king's brother.
It's an impossible situation. If they protect him, they look weak. If they hand him over, the image of the king's brother Testifying before Congress is a PR nightmare for the palace.
It's the perfect